and touring your manufacturing plant was amazing. But what's the most amazing is your commitment to the country and to the people of Zambia, you know.
Well, this started after I had my child
Yeah.
because I was doing fine. My family was doing just fine. And then I thought I had a child person.
Hmm.
I've recorded 7 podcasts out of 8. I have one more podcast to record, and it talks about policy change and regulations around the mining industry. And we'll share that link with you, whoever is interested, because it's about time that the Zambians woke up. And there's so much land over here that is barren, not barren, that is untapped. And when we gained independence 60 years ago, people were given land in all the areas. And since my TEDx, every 2, 3 months, some child, some 20-year-old, 18-year-old will come to me and say, I found something shiny in my father's farm. And I say, keep on to go treasure hunting.
Hmm.
And then when they get to secondary level, you have the science of the gemstones. So, for example, what's tanzanite? Tanzanite is a very hydrous cobalt composition, but it's colored by vanadium 3 plus. And if you heat the stone, you release the green and it becomes blue and purple, which is even more valuable.
I think that's what you're focusing on. You know the chemistry of these gemstones so well. It just rolls off your tongue. And, you know, in order to do the mining and the jewels, you have to know something about the chemistry or, you know, and the gemology of what you're doing or mining or something. And that it all.
The metallurgy of gold and silver and copper and all those things that you can create with, and
Mhm.
not just set the stones. And because they have different hardnesses, you have to be very careful which metal you will use to put pressure on the in a month 3 times or 10 times or 100 times.
Yeah.
We have pieces that we purchase at $100,000 that are valued more than 1 million. And so there's real value in this, and it's portable and you can carry.
Local communities can also play a pivotal role in ensuring that they take in the decision-making process regarding the use of their natural resources. And you've given an example with the Zambian president stepping up to.
President written down somewhere. I think it's a bit early for me still. And so depending on how involved the government is with the youth, and they should understand that the youth play a huge important role and their re-elections and where they take the country. And the youth are they must think if there's a mine, there's a foreign-owned mine, their CSR section needs to be just as strong as their commitment to mine and take things away, because they're taking away your land. It'll never, ever become the same. They're taking away the nutrition of it. They're taking away initially we had miners from a foreign land who are just taking up the entire earth to their land. So there was no refining happening over here. The land has gold, which is of highest value. Anything that colored by gold is exponentially more valuable. That's what you guys have. If they're taking your most valuable asset away, what are they going to leave for you in return? Because they will leave. And you're just replanting the land. You can then have a fishery, because Zambia, I'm sure Papua New Guinea has loads of fish. And I know fishery is one of your assets, your economic benefiters. So fisheries can happen. Value addition, you must start figuring out, send your people to go and learn how to manufacture jewelry, or create a curriculum, part of the curriculum on metalsmithing, and see where you go with that. And just get the government involved around these policies. For when they invite foreign investors, they must have a plan for their own people. It's not always just about the money and the current space. It's about the future. It's about the children's children. Right now, this 17 to 26-year-olds aren't thinking about their children. They're thinking about themselves. But just know that once you hit 30, there are other children that are dependent on your country. What are you going to leave behind for them? And that's the stage I got to about 10 years ago. What am I going to leave behind? When I did my TEDx, the question I answered is, why are we so poor and yet we're so rich? And Papua New Guinea is very rich and it's a fast-growing economy. Just be careful not to let it all go.
Right. Thank you so much. And so as we wait some questions from the audience, I would like to invite Ray to give us an overview, a quick overview of the mineral or the mining industry in Myanmar. Welcome, Ray.
Well, hi, yeah, I'm not planning to talk about Myanmar. I think I already sent a slide deck to the people there if they have it. If not, I can also share it.
You can share your
I'll
screen.
just
It will
share
be
it.
easy.
That will be better. Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Okay. Today my goal is just want to highlight a bit more about how important the extractive industry, which is the main GDP contributor of the Papua New Guinea, is, and then give you a sense of, as a young person, what role can you play in it. So this map show your country, and you can see all the mines, large scales are in red, medians are in smaller red, and then there are potential mines that'll be coming out in a couple of years in orange. So what that means is that, I Google some data, and you have about 7 billion US dollar export of petroleum gas every year, and about 2 billion exploitation of gold every year. That's a huge amount. And then I check in, and so what about the service sectors? And then I figure out that you only export service export is about only 300 million US dollars compared to the resources export. That's a huge, there's a huge gap, which means that you are a resource dependent country. Um, so how are you doing that? Because that's what you do right now. And then this is from the Transparency International. So currently, the Papua New Guinea rank in the mining sector score, according to the Resource Governance Index, is 47 out of the 100 countries that they surveyed, so which is considered weak. And then Transparency International also stated that Papua New Guinea was also one of the least diversified economies in Asia Pacific, and EITI, which is probably the most trusted source and independent organization when it comes to extractive industries and their transparency. And for the year 2024, you were ranked the most resource-dependent country in the region and among the EITI countries. So apparently there are some issues regarding the way you manage your budget, the way your government is taxing the people, the way in terms when we talk about consent of the indigenous people that is free, that is informed, and also, after you export your stuff and when you tax the companies, the way these taxes are distributed among the people, and the amount of money that you put in your sovereign wealth fund and the amount of money that you put in your infrastructure, there are a lot of gaps to be fixed on. So these are a sample list of the Papua New Guinea mine. And as you can see, because when we talk about resources, usually we think that, oh, these are resources of our country and we own it. These are the resources that our, grandparents leave it for us. And these are resources that we've owned generationally. So if you look at the last column, your mine here, one, two, three, four, five, over 12 mines, the big mines in the Papua New Guinea. And then if you look at the majority ownership countries, Papua New Guinea only owned one of the top mines in your country that are operating. Keep growing until the COVID hit, of course. And then even the COVID, you didn't even drop that down compared to the other countries, as well as their gross profit that they take out of the country after the operations expenses and taxation expenses also keep rising. And the amount of taxes your country is getting didn't change. Companies here, the Pogara and OKTI, these companies didn't even pay any taxes in the year 2016 and 2017 as well. So they're taking your resources, um, they're making profit, they have operations revenue, but they are not paying taxes. Basically, you're not getting anything for your resources that you give out. So this is a concept I think most of us are very familiar with. the reality right now for Papua New Guinea in terms of extractive industry in general is you're the blue kids in the shirt. You have your resources, you can really see them, you can really get the joy of it, because as you can see, the guy on the light blue shirt is the case that I mentioned earlier, who are taking the ownership for your resources and operating in your country and not paying you taxes or paying very low amount of taxes, and they are the one who is enjoying your resources and getting the most profit from that. So we need to move forward, which is, at this point, the reality is so bad. We need to have a equity first. Of course, our final goal is liberation, where foreign investor can also come in. They can do business in your country, but you also get the benefits, and they also get the benefits. That's the final goal. But we have to start from, going to the equality so that you start to get a peak of the resources that you have and have a sense of joy from that. And then from the next step, equity, where you can actually see the amount of abundance that you have in your countries. And then also, have partnerships, start to grow your country, uh, go towards the directions of the development and also foreign partnerships and improve your community. Also, so why this is happening? So you have some areas that, as a young person, you are 60% of population in their countries. So I would personally suggest that in the next 2 or 3 decades, you have to be talking to your government to focus on these companies, how they, calculate the income taxes, how they calculate the resource rents, and then, how much deductible taxation that these companies are getting, and then for the benefit of your country, what are the things that need to be changed? I'd like to discuss more on that if you have during the Q&A session. So these are some examples that I found on, the corruption that are happening in the Papua New Guinea. So that's it for me. I just want to highlight the issues that I see when I start looking at your country. And then I want to discuss more about that, because I feel like this is an incredibly important issue, because your country, over 80% of the GDP rely on the extractive industry, mining, gold, and minerals. So how are we going to fix that? And I want to explore together with you on today.
Right. Thank you so much. Do we have a question from the audience? Any question from the audience?
Yes, thank you.
Or
My name is Tony Magautu. I'm from IBS University. Thank you. This question is directed to Miss Rasmi. Okay. It's about additional value. Okay, so how do you value your product, and how do you price your product? I'm only asking this because as Papua New Guineans, when we tap into entrepreneurship, we come up with products. We come up with our products and services, but sometimes we undervalue ourselves and our product, and we tend to give an inaccurate value or price to our product in the market. So from your own expert point of view, how do we as Papua New Guineans give the right price for our product at the right value? Or is there a method or strategy or mechanism that you use to price your product you could help us with? Thank you.
Hi, thanks for that question. It's a very important question. So at the end of the day, as a trader, how much money have you put in and how much profit are you making? It's up to the trader to accept what he needs or she needs for that product to move on to a better product or reinvest. I belong to the Gem A Club. So for gems and jewelry, it's a well-known product. We compare prices globally. We attend exhibitions globally. We understand the value of the complexities that design might have and how much more money you need to pay if something is handmade versus something that's casted, or the value of lab-grown diamonds versus diamonds that are grown over millions of years, emeralds that are grown over millions of years, the color, the clarity. We have the 4 C's, which is color, clarity, cut, carat, weight. And we can start by having an idea of a value. Sorry, my dad is in my background. Now that you can see, he came to watch. He's Dr. Sharma. He was the very first gemologist in the country. Sorry, Daddy, say hello. Hello. So that's Dr. Sharma. And he's the inspiration behind Jewel of Africa. So value is, there's different values. So when I do an appraisal, it's for insurance value. And depending on which country you are, so as immediate you leave our borders in Zambia and you go to the US, the value is usually threefold. It's if you were going to resell it in the States. But on the ground over here, in the beginning, in the 1990s, we would sell just enough to help us live comfortably and purchase our next item, or to dig out the next item. It's all relative. There is a value in your own country and there's a value internationally. What is the product and how appreciated is your product? So you have to keep in mind, somebody's phone is ringing. Sorry, it's mine. How do you switch this off? Please take this away. Right. Sorry, fine. My bad. I didn't realize. So sorry about that, but that happens. I mean, it doesn't just happen with the youth. It happens with senior people like me. I'm 51 years old and my phone is ringing again. Switch it off, please. Take it away from here. Again, so value is it's perceived, it's relative, it's what you need. You need enough to keep on going. Reinvest in your own business. Don't sell yourself short. You need to invest in your own business. So with the gemstones, it's amazing because in the early days, my brother would go digging. He'd give me a bag of gemstones. I'd go to Portugal or wherever, sell those gemstones. We make a lot of money. We think, wow, this is a lot of money. It's 20 grand or it's 40 grand. And then you buy a car, a house, some things, but how are you going to sustain yourself? What's the next deal? You need to go back to the mine. You still need to slave away and get more gemstones. So it's economics. It's budgeting. So there is no right value or wrong value. I mean, in India, what they've done, for example, is they know the value of all the gemstones in India. But Indians export so many gemstones. I mean, it is the largest cutting hub in the world. So, and they don't allow gemstones to go in without huge taxes and tariffs, unless they're in the rough, because then the Jaipurians cut and polish and they add value. That's where they make the money. So in India, it's a different value. In America, it's threefold because, for example, Cartiers and the Tiffany's and all of the big boys, they would have their beautiful designs. They don't have the gemstones. So then they send their people out to India and Thailand and China to purchase the gemstones to finish their product, their jewelry product. And so that's how they go, from Zambia to India to Thailand to China to Europe to America. And so we bypass 5 people. So there's value addition in each and every one of those places. And so I hope this answers your question so you get an idea of what I'm trying to say. Are we there?
I think so.
Yes, we are. Now, just to follow it up again with the value proposition, how can innovation and technology contribute to more sustainable practices in resource extraction and management? Because most of the youths listening today are very innovative. And as the guy who just asked the question said, how can they not devalue themselves? So how can they use technology and innovation also to make sure that they contribute to a more sustainable practice in resource extraction and management?
So, I mean, devaluing yourself, when would you actually do that? In inhumane conditions, you have to have your own goals and your own aspirations and, what inspires you. If you want to remain in the village and carry on digging for the whole rest of your life, but your family is being fed, you're being fed, you're happy. It's your happy level. That's fine. Are you going to leave a legacy behind? So then you have to work a little bit harder. You have to then take your gemstones to town. Then you have to try and get a market value. And then from town, you've got to take them to the center of the country. They'll come to Lusaka. And I'll look at them and I'll say, this is not my product. And the problem is, if I don't purchase it, that means it's not good enough for an export. But then they'll challenge that and they'll say, well, we'll export it ourselves. You take it to Dubai or places. And that's when you get low value. That's when you get discouraged, because you've taken that step. But those are all tuition fees. As far as I'm concerned, these are your learning fees. I've gone through several tuition fees. There was a time I went all the way to America, and this is after going to America for at least 5 or 6 years. And I flew all the way there and I flew right back, because I learned that when you take a parcel of $20,000 into the USA and you declare it, the customs agents are very happy that you're young and you're vibrant and you're going to sell into their country, and they wish you luck. That happens 3 or 4 times. But that $20,000 parcel then becomes a $200,000 parcel. That becomes a $2 million parcel. And that's when they say, hold on, now you need to do this properly. You need a clearing agent. You need people who will revalue the goods at customs. So you have to know the value of your product before you go all the way there, so you don't bounce. Because I was not willing to leave my product at customs because they didn't have a secure warehouse. Or people who will allow your product in because of the AGOA Treaty, the African Growth Opportunity Treaty, and you go in there, and if my product isn't good enough, it's attending fairs, it's doing your market research. There's no such thing as undervaluing yourself. If you can't afford the equipment, make it yourself. Be innovative. Be smart about this. I mean, you guys are all graduates, I'm thinking, I'm hoping, or on the way to becoming graduates. What does a graduate do? The universities teach you how to use your brain to improve situations. Use your brain. Do not be distracted. Have a goal. This is what I want to become. This is where I would like my family. So work on that. There are so many distractions. Don't get involved in other people's affairs. That doesn't matter. I mean, we have competitors, but who cares? I do my thing. I know what I need to do for myself, my family, and my country. And so focus on that.
Yeah, I think another word that we haven't spoken, which starts with a C, is corruption. And when you look at, you have 11 out of, what did we say? Ray, you had one mine out of how many, 11 or 16 or something, that is owned by a company in Papua New Guinea, and the rest of them are owned by foreign companies. Now, all the people in the room are smart. They all have common sense. How much money do you think got handed under the table for these foreign companies to come in and extract mines and to extract goods and to pay virtually no taxes? Okay. What kind of sweetheart deal was that? That's a terrible deal for the people of your country. And you as youth between 17 and 26, you have to stand up and ask why. Okay. You have to stand up and ask why. You have to hold your government accountable. There's rampant corruption, as we all know, in Papua New Guinea. It's very well publicized. It's not an under the table thing, except for when it gets paid. Everyone knows there's corruption. How does a foreign company come in and get a sweetheart deal like that, where it doesn't just rent, it might own your mine, it gets your license, it takes the natural resources out, it makes the bulk of the profit on it, and it pays virtually no taxes. Now, what would you pay for a sweetheart deal like that? Okay, and who got the money? Who got the money? You need to be smart enough to be asking good questions. And like Rashmi has said, This is not even about your generation. This is about your children. You all are getting to the age that you will get married, you will have children, and those children at some point will have children, and you'll have grandchildren. You're going to have a legacy. Okay. You can't sit back and watch a very mismanaged government be selling your assets. And, if let's say, I'm a lawyer, I like to read contracts. So, I'd like to read some of these contracts with some of these companies that came in and bought the mines. I'd like to read those contracts. I'd like to see what the terms are. I don't know if you have any youth who are in this room today who are lawyers. But what is that contract? Did they even have a contract? That's an even more fundamental question. Did they even have a contract? If they don't have a contract, you have no written terms on what happened. Maybe there are no written terms because all the money was under the table. And maybe there was private wealth that left the country. And they're selling your land, okay, your land, your assets, and whatever the sweetheart deal is, they're not paying taxes. Now, obviously that doesn't pass the smell test. There's something very, very wrong about that. And you have to follow the money. You have to protect your family. You have to protect your community. You have to ask questions. And if a sweetheart deal was done, which most of these look like, because they're not paying taxes, you're not getting any benefit from it. You need to rise up together. The youth, we talked about that the youth represent 60% of the population of Papua New Guinea. You are the majority, okay? You are the majority. And you are being ruled by the minority. And the minority is selling your land and selling off your assets, okay, at a cheap price and with a sweetheart deal. I mean, I would be very mad about that. I am very mad about that. You can hear my voice. I am very mad about that. And Papua New Guinea is not even my country. But I love all of you, and that makes me very mad.
So maybe we can throw a question out. Maybe we can have 3 answers amongst the audience, what they think they should do or what the possibilities are of solving this huge problem. If you have one company that's mining, that's local, and everybody else is foreign, which is the same case in Zambia, what are you going to do? What do you think you're going to do in the future? Because you will be the guys who will make the rules and the regulations and the policy.
Absolutely. And, we've heard a lot over the past 2 days about how the tribal spirit in Papua New Guinea is one of protectionism. And they like to protect their tribes. They like to protect their people. Well, these mines are part of what you are as a country, and you need to protect them. And when somebody is doing something wrong, you need to keep your eyes open and say, oh my goodness, this is not okay. Now, we've got access, of course, to Ray's slides, and we'll make them available to Edwin. You need to study those slides, okay? You need to study those slides, and you need to ask yourself, where's the money and who made these terrible deals? Is there a contract? Start asking questions. And then, as a people representing 60% of the population in the country, and you're the majority, you need to start doing something about it. And, there are people all over the world who will support you on that because we don't like exploitation.
Yeah, Sherry, if I may add something, you made a great point about, about the contracts, which is a huge deal, the starting point basically of the how companies going to come in and mine. Actually, I don't know if people over there know that. I actually look it up. So there is a global initiative that collect, the contracts. Most of the time, these are your natural resources. So the contracts are supposed to be public so that young people like you, researchers, and people who are interested in can look it up, because these companies are taking about over $10 billion out of your country every year. So what I found was, historically, there is only one contract from Papua New Guinea, one that is available publicly. You can't say, like, I assume it's bad. It can be good, but if you have out of 100, if you have 5% of open data score, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the first thing that I would suggest is you have to find out, how you have to pressure your government, and you have to pressure these associations to make this information public, so that you can access them. And as a citizen, as the actual owner of these natural resources, you have to figure out, are they managing our resources fine? Your asset, the
Yeah.
simple rule in asset management and investment is, if you have an asset and if you invest in it, you need to get a profit out of it. Are you really getting a profit out of it? If not, you're making an investment that is not winning. And again, monetary investment, if you lose cashes, you can find money back. But these natural resources are non-renewable. You cannot get your oils back.
Uh-huh.
It's a non-renewable resources. It is not a renewable resource. So that's a huge problem, not only in Papua New Guinea, all across developing country, which relies on resources. And yeah, that's one issue that we need to focus on
Yeah.
as a young people.
That's
Can I
very
just add?
important.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
I was just
Can I
going to
just
say
say
one thing.
something? Yeah.
Oh, if you just one quick thing, I'll turn it over to you. The young people, Ray just made a really big point. He can only find one contract, which is publicly available, on the sale of all your mines and all your assets to foreign companies. You need to be asking questions, and you need to find out whether there are contracts or not. And if there are contracts, I'm a lawyer. I know a lot of lawyers. I know some really good lawyers. You send them to us. We'll read those contracts for you, and we'll tell you what the terms are, and we'll tell you exactly what happened if you can find them. I'm not sure they exist. I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure they exist. But if you can find them, I will find the people in the U.S. bar that will study every one of those contracts, and we'll tell you what they say.
So yeah, no, that's a good. We need to, instead of just telling them or asking them how are you going to do it, maybe guide them on how to do it. But what I wanted to say is, when the foreigners do come in, they do bring a lot of money into the country. They do pay taxes over here. There's mineral royalty taxes, and they complain about the amount of those, and they create jobs. And so it's just that after they leave, what happens to the people who have